Empowerment. What's the first thing that flashes in your mind? For most of us, it's a $70 anti-aging cream or a pair of sculpting leggings. It's a green juice that tastes like someone's backyard, packaged into a cute little bottle that promises you a total life reset. The Oxford Dictionary says that empowerment is about gaining authority and confidence over your own life, but in the big 2026, empowerment has been hijacked. Now it's a brand slogan. It's also the most effective marketing strategy of our generation, turning feminism into a tool to sell us a cure for just having a human face. Hi, guys. I'm Emmy, and welcome back to Who Does She Think She Is? A podcast where we understand the patriarchy, understand who benefits from it, and dismantle it, all with a side of tea. So, in the previous episode, we talked about pop culture, we talked about our favorite movies and music, and this is a sort of a continuation of the previous episode. We're going to be talking about pop culture again, but we're going to be talking about a different part of pop culture, let's say. And of course, some of you might be wondering, like, what does empowerment even have to do with pop culture? But, well, honestly, it doesn't have anything to do with pop culture, but in today's world, we've made it a part of pop culture. We made it aspirational rather than attainable. Because now you're no longer empowered because you have rights. You're empowered because you have the same $100 silk pillowcase as your favorite influencer. And honestly, it's the ultimate pop culture magic trick, making us feel like we're fighting the system while we're just actually fueling it, because buying a new trendy glowy foundation to cover up your scars does not make you empowered. Knowing that you have scars, accepting them, and knowing that you're beautiful with and without, and that those scars are how do you say, a manifestation of your strength, is what makes you empowered. So, a culture that is telling you that you're empowered while simultaneously selling you a cure for your natural face, that's just a hidden layer of patriarchy which happens to have a better publicist. Because feminism is about systematic change, it's about equal pay, healthcare, and safety. But this brand feminism, it's made it about individual maintenance instead. Instead of fighting the glass ceiling, we're too busy applying an under eye mask so we don't look tired from fighting the glass ceiling. Before, pop culture used to tell women to be quiet and look pretty. Now it tells us to be CEOs, athletes, and it girls while still looking pretty. We've moved from shrinking yourself for a man to optimizing yourself for your brand. But it's still the same thing. It's still telling us that we're not enough. It's still telling us that we need to improve ourselves, that our flaws make us imperfect. It's still telling us to fit into this little box. And they won't stop. Because why would they? So much of the beauty industry, it relies on people's insecurities to uphold itself. It exploits people's insecurities to keep itself upright. And if every woman, all the women, they decided to wake up one day and just love themselves for how they are and decided that they were enough and that they would not change anything about themselves for anyone or anything, almost all of the beauty industry, it would collapse overnight, because then who would buy their anti-aging cream? Who would buy their, oh my god, life-changing detox tea, as if a bottle of green juice would turn your life upside down? And so I figured I might like sound it a little harsh right over there, but I'm not trying to criticize like or shame anyone for enjoying beauty, because or anything at all, because I'm a huge fan of beauty as well. And like, I'm just talking about the system as a whole and how it has twisted everything. I am not here to call out anyone for anything that they enjoy, so I am so sorry if it comes out like that. Moving on, now let's talk about how pop culture has mastered the art of rebranding, how it has taken all of the old school pressures and given them a fresh, lovely little coat of paint so we don't recognize the cage we're actually standing in. Exhibit A, let's start by talking about aesthetics. And I know we talked about it in the previous episode, but it was not enough. We talked about the trad wife aesthetic and we talked about the clean girl aesthetic. Now let's talk about the lovely soft life aesthetic. Soft life aesthetic, I like to say, is the new submission. It's tricky because it started out as something really lovely and beautiful. It started out as a moment for burnout women to reclaim their peace. But pop culture, it has now twisted it. On some corners of the internet, soft life is being used to brand the idea that a woman's power comes from being kept quiet and hyper feminine. It's rebranding the golden cage. It's rebranding all this with saying that a woman needs to be a certain way, that she needs to be quiet or she needs to, be very calm and she needs to take whatever is given to her in silence. And it is turning all of that into a aesthetic as something that is supposed to be really praised and celebrated. It's turning the golden cage into a luxury retreat. Now, Exhibit B, let's talk about girl dinner. We took the very real, very funny reality that women are tired of performing domestic labor and turned it into a whooping trend. Now, I'm a huge fan of girl dinner. I'm all about eating pasta in a really fancy bowl and eating ice cream straight out of the tub and enjoying my dino nuggies. But now we've turned girl dinner into a competition of who can eat the least. Turned from being a message that said that, oh, I'm tired, I'm opting out of the kitchen for today, to look how dainty and aesthetic my three blueberries and a rice cake are. Suddenly, a funny moment of solidarity became another way to curate ourselves. And when we turn a meal into a quirky little trend, we make it a competition for who can be the most effortless, which, ironically, takes a lot of effort. Now, Exhibit C, which is something I have been dying to talk about. Discipline is the new deprivation. We don't talk about dieting anymore. That feels too 1998. Instead, we talk about gut health, biohacking, and anti inflammatory lifestyles, which aren't restricting. We're just optimizing our performance. But at the end of the day, if you're staring at a bowl of bone broth while your soul screams for a piece of buttered toast, is it wellness or is it just the 2000s in a more expensive trench coat? We have seen the rise of so many Y2K styles these past few years, the low-rise jeans and the crop tops and like whatnot. But cheetah prints and butterfly clips aren't the only things that have made a comeback. Along with all of this, there has been a huge rise in skinny culture, which has also, it has resurfaced. Let's talk about the why. Why, in an era where we're supposedly supposed to embrace body positivity, are we seeing a return to the ultra thin, almost fragile aesthetic of the early 2000s? It's pretty interesting, and it's called the backlash effect. Historically, when women started taking up too much space in the world, politically, financially, or socially, the ideal body standard starts to shrink. Think about the 1920s. Women get the right to vote, and suddenly the flapper look, thin, boyish, and flat chested, becomes the peak of fashion. Fast forward to the 19s and 2000s. Women are entering the workforce in record numbers, and the heroine chick, thin body, it enters the chat. But we need to keep in mind that our bodies, they aren't a trend that can simply come and go. They are the vessel that
that guide us and that help us go through this beautiful, lovely life. So we must nourish and take care of them accordingly. Now, the thing is, why does the backlash effect happen? And it's pretty cool, the working mechanism of it, because you only have a finite amount of mental bandwidth every day. And let's say if 40% of your brain is occupied by counting calories in a salad, worrying if your hip dips are showing in those low rise jeans, and wondering if you need to start preventive procedures at 22, that is 40% of your brain that isn't wondering why the gender pay gap still exists, or why childcare is unaffordable, or why you're being talked over in meetings. A body that is constantly being monitored is a body that is constantly being managed, and it's hard to lead a revolution where you're lightheaded. And the cleverest part in 2026 is that today, like we said, pop culture has updated the language. Like we talked about, we no longer say dieting. Instead, it's some biohack and some optimizing whatever. And it sounds like science on the surface, but it feels like a cage. Because guess what? It's the same cage with just a better polish. We've turned the female body into a project that is never ever finished, and as long as you're busy working on yourself, you are too distracted to work on the world around you. And the reason why this backlash effect it is so effective, why it works so much is what I like to call the control factor. There's the element of control, obviously. The outside world is messy inflation, climate change, political chaos. In a world where we feel like we have no control, pop culture sells us the idea that we can at least control our waistline or our skin texture. It gives us a false sense of agency. We think we're being empowered by mastering our bodies, but really, we're just complying with a standard that was designed to keep us occupied. Now let's talk about the normalization of cosmetic procedures. All cosmetic procedures they have been so normalized today that getting a Botox is the same as getting a manicure. And of course, I'm not here, it's not about shaming anyone for what they do to their own faces. If you love your filler, if your Botox makes you feel like the best version of yourself, that girl is your domain. Feminism at its core is about having the agency to choose. But what we're here to talk about today is that choice really a choice if the alternative feels like a failure? In 2026, pop culture has moved cosmetic procedures out of the medical category and into the hygiene category. It's framed as just another part of being a polished adult, like brushing your teeth or getting a haircut. When every filtered image and every get ready with me video features a face that has been subtly engineered, it creates a new baseline. Suddenly, having just a normal face that looks quite human with pores and lines feels like you've let yourself go. And that is where the patriarchy sneaks in. It's not telling you don't do it, it's telling you that doing it is the only way to stay in the game. It's the difference between I'm doing this because I enjoy the aesthetic and I'm doing this because I'm terrified of looking my age. When we normalize such procedures as necessary maintenance, we're quietly raising the price of admission for just existing as a woman. It's more money, more recovery time, and more mental energy spent tracking top offs. It's totally fine if you want to look your best, but we have to ask ourselves, why has the best version of a woman become the only one that looks the least like a human being? And tying it back to the beginning of this episode, it's called empowerment. All of this is said to be empowerment. But true empowerment shouldn't have a look. It shouldn't be tied to how much work you've had done or how much you've avoided. Whether you choose the tweak mid or you choose to rock every single expression line you've earned, your value in the room shouldn't change. The problem aren't the procedures, it's the script that says one version is empowered and the other is neglected. We shouldn't have to pay a beauty tax just to feel like we're participating in our own lives. Ultimately, the goal isn't to tell you what to do with your face, it's to make sure that whatever you choose, you're doing it because you want to, not because the algorithm convinced you that your natural self was a before photo waiting to happen. And that's a wrap on the sixth episode. Thank you guys for staying with me until the end. I had so much fun while researching and recording this episode, and I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. I hope you all have a very nice week, and I love you guys. Bye.